Hey everybody, Gary Fong here. So I wanted to go over this article that I just saw on the New York Times, and I'll just read it to you and then we'll kind of go through it together. So there's a picture of a man here, and he's smiling at a bee, a very odd thing. It's a massive bee. Said of the 2-inch Asian giant hornet, he displayed a dead hornet on his jacket. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind. Now, this guy's name is Chris Looney. There's a different man named Ted McFall who said he'd never seen anything like it. As he pulled up, he's a beekeeper, as he pulled up to check on a group of hives near Custer, Washington, he could spot from the window a mess of bee carcasses on the ground. As he looked closer, he saw a pile of dead members of the colony in front of a hive and more carnage inside. Thousands and thousands of bees with their heads torn from their bodies and no sign of a culprit. Only later did he come to suspect, didn't find one, that the killer was what some researchers simply call the murder hornet. Okay. With queens that can grow to 2 inches long, and as we know, queens don't leave the hive, Asian giant hornets use mandibles shaped like shark fins, ooh, that sounds scary, to wipe out a honey beehive in a matter of hours. Decapitating the bees, how ruthless, and flying away with the thoraxes to feed their young. Remember that, okay? For larger targets, the hornet's potent venom and stinger, long enough to puncture a beekeeping suit, so that won't keep you safe, make for an excruciating combination that victims have likened to hot metal driving into their skin. In Japan, the hornets can kill up to 50 people a year. Now, for the first time, they've arrived in the United States. We've heard about Asian killer bees for a long time now. Mr. McFall is still not certain that the Asian giant hornets were responsible for the plunder of his hive. Thousands of bees dead. I suspect that, but this is in the New York Times, right? But 2 of the predatory insects were discovered last fall in the northwest corner of Washington state, a few miles north of his property, the first sightings in the United States. So let's take note now. There's been 2 sightings. 2 of the predatory insects have been sighted, okay? Upper left corner of Washington state, a few miles north of his property. Okay, so with that, now there's 2, right? So one, he thinks, destroyed his entire hive. The second one died and was taxidermied so that he could be pinned like a boutonniere on this guy's jacket so that he could smile and say cheese at this huge giant hornet. So now there's been 2 sightings, but one's dead, and the other one killed thousands and thousands of bees, they think, by decapitating them. Now, have you ever tried to catch a bee or even swat one with a fly swatter? They're very squirrely little things, right? They move pretty fast. So, in order for one of the 2 Asian hornets, the queen, which the queens never leave the nest, but the queen can grow up to 2 inches, went into a number of hives, chopped all the heads off, and left thousands of bee carcasses behind, not taking the thoraxes to feed their young, right here where it says, flying away with the thoraxes to feed their young. Now, I've not heard of any meat-eating, protein, flesh-eating bees, or bees that are young that need to be fed like a bird mama feeding worms in the nest. But if that were the case, if these were actually carnivore bees, which this is news to me, then why did that one single bee kill thousands of bees by lopping their heads off, leaving all those bodies behind, and not take the thoraxes to feed its young? Little bit wasteful, I'd say. So the beekeeper is still not certain that Asian giant hornets were responsible for the plunder of his hive. I can call the New York Times and say, oh my God, whole bunch of dead bees. I think it's the Asian hornets. And they'll come over with a photographer and they'll interview me because I saw a bunch of dead bees, and they want to know, like, what do you think it is? Oh, it's the Asian hornets. So based on that, scientists have since embarked on a full-scale hunt for the hornets. Full scale, worried that the invaders could decimate bee populations in the United States and establish such a deep presence that all hope for eradication could be lost. Wonder what else kills bees. It's really weird. This is our window to keep it from establishing, said Chris Looney, an entomologist at the Washington State Department of Agriculture. If we can't do it in the next couple of years, it probably can't be done. Because there were two queens that are up to 2.5 inches. One, which has become, this thing, honestly, this looks like a fly fishing lure. He did a good job taxidermying it. I don't think anything's, that's amazing. What a happy man. What a cute little bee he has. Okay, so that's that in today's articles of what constitutes news have prompted fears that the vicious insect could establish itself in the United States and devastate bee populations. Wow. I bet you there's going to be a lot of dead bees. Well, we'll know who to blame it on. Right?